What if no one is coming to save you and that's not a curse, but a gift? What if the very comfort you have been taught to worship is the reason you feel weaker every year? And what if the peace you've been chasing in vacations, new relationships, or distractions was never out there in the first place? It was always within you, waiting for you to face it. These are not soft questions. They're the kind of brutal wake-up calls that the Stoics believed every human being must confront if they want to stop drifting and start living with clarity. This isn't about motivation, because motivation fades. This is about transformation, about breaking the illusions that make you fragile, and building the inner strength that makes you unshakable. The ancient Stoics lived in times that make our problems look small, yet they endured. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire filled with betrayal, war, and plague, and yet instead of drowning in power or despair, he wrote to himself every night reminders not of conquest, but of discipline. Epictetus, born into slavery, stripped of rights, status, and even dignity in the eyes of others, still discovered freedom no master could touch. Seneca, surrounded by wealth and power, warned more urgently than anyone that comfort was the real enemy, the silent killer that weakens the spirit. These men had every excuse to surrender, but instead they chose responsibility, resilience, and radical self-command. They refused to be victims, and that is why their words survive centuries later. Today, we live in a world far more comfortable than theirs. Food arrives with a single tap. Entertainment streams endlessly. Distractions never stop. Yet look round, people are more anxious, more restless, and more easily broken than ever before. A single online comment can shatter confidence. A single failure at work can send someone spiraling. We've built a society addicted to comfort, and in doing so, we've forgotten the very muscles, mental, emotional, and spiritual, that keep us strong when life inevitably strikes. The Stoics would say this is why you feel lost. Not because the world is harsher now, but because you have not trained yourself to endure. That's where this journey begins. If you want to fix your life, you must first fix your mind. And fixing your mind doesn't mean reading a feel-good quote on Instagram and nodding in agreement. It doesn't mean saying, "I'll change tomorrow," while repeating the same cycles today. It means adopting rules clear, demanding, unforgiving rules that force you to face reality as it is. Brutal rules that crush your excuses, strip away your illusions, and leave you no choice but to rise. These rules are not gentle. They won't make you feel good at first, but they will make you unbreakable. And here's the challenge before we dive in: stop waiting. Stop scrolling through videos looking for the one that will finally save you. No video can save you. No mentor. No partner. No hand reaching out from the sky. Only you. That's the Stoic truth. And if you're here, still listening, it means something deep down inside you already knows it. You don't need another excuse. You don't need another reason to wait. You need discipline over everything. If you're serious about this, drop it in the comments right now. Discipline over everything. That's your declaration, not to me, but to yourself. Because this isn't just another motivational clip you'll forget tomorrow. This is StoicCraft. This is where your excuses come to die, and where your strength is reborn. Now. Let's begin. No one is coming to save you. Those words sound cold at first, almost cruel, as if the universe is indifferent to your suffering. And maybe it is, but that's exactly where your freedom begins. Epictetus, who was born a slave in Rome, knew this more than anyone. He lived in a world where he had no rights, no future promised, and no control over his circumstances. Yet he discovered a truth so powerful that it shattered chains more effectively than any rebellion. While you breathe, you still have power over yourself. That is the foundation of Stoicism. Not waiting for rescue, but realizing that the only person who can change your life is the one staring back in the mirror. In modern life, this rule feels almost offensive. We live surrounded by systems that encourage us to wait for help: therapists, self-help gurus, governments, corporations, motivational speakers. Everywhere we look, someone is telling us, "Don't worry, I'll guide you, I'll fix you, I'll make it easier." And sometimes that guidance has value, but it becomes poison when it convinces us to stay passive, when it whispers the lie that salvation is external. That's why so many people drift through their lives paralyzed. They're waiting for the right job, the right partner, the right moment, the right spark of motivation. But waiting is another word for surrender. And surrender is chains. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you were drowning at work. Maybe you were exhausted by responsibilities at home. Maybe you were silently hoping someone would notice your struggle and step in. But what happened? The world kept moving. Messages went unanswered. Doors stayed closed. And no hand reached down. That moment wasn't punishment. It was revelation. It was life stripping away the illusion of safety and asking you the real question. When no one comes, who will you be? Will you collapse, or will you rise? This is why Stoicism cuts so deep today. Because in a culture obsessed with external solutions, therapy apps, self-improvement courses, endless inspirational content, the most radical truth is still this: you are the solution. The excuses we make about not having support, about not being understood, about needing just one more push, those are chains we forge ourselves. Epictetus would say, "Stop expecting life to rescue you." That expectation is what enslaves you. Freedom begins the moment you stop waiting. Now picture someone who embraces this truth. They stop blaming the world, their parents, their boss, their partner. They stop waiting for perfect conditions. Instead, they act. They make decisions. They carry their weight even when no one claps for them. That's sovereignty, the Stoic word for ruling yourself instead of being ruled by chance. And when you grasp this, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing abandonment, because you realize you can never abandon yourself. You stop fearing rejection, because you realize your worth doesn't depend on acceptance. You stop fearing hardship, because you know the strength you need is already yours to summon. Of course, this doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It doesn't mean you never seek help, never accept support, never lean on others. It means you never depend on them for your survival. Help becomes bonus, not necessity. Support becomes reinforcement, not foundation. The difference is everything. One path makes you fragile, the other makes you free. Look at our modern culture of dependency. How many people believe happiness will finally come once someone loves them the right way, or once their boss recognizes their efforts, or once the government fixes the system? This mindset creates weakness, because your fate hangs on strings you do not control. And what happens when those strings snap? You collapse. The Stoic refuses this game. They cut the strings before life does, and they walk forward on their own feet. That's strength. That's freedom. So write this truth into your mind. No one is coming to save you. Say it until it burns through your illusions. Not your parents, not your partner, not your friends, not your boss. And strangely enough, that's good news, because once you accept that reality, you stop waiting. You start acting. You realize that everything you need to face life has always been inside you. And once you claim that power, nothing can take it away. The world can betray you, abandon you, misunderstand you, but it cannot stop you. Because you have stopped waiting and started living. Control the inner battlefield. Marcus Aurelius commanded legions, ruled over millions, and faced betrayal from those closest to him. He endured plague, war, and political turmoil that could have broken any leader. Yet, when he opened his journal at night, he did not write about strategy, enemies, or conquest. He wrote about himself, about his mind, about the only war that truly mattered, the war within. He understood that even if he triumphed across the empire, it meant nothing if he lost command of his own thoughts. The greatest battlefield was never the frontier. It was never the Senate. It was always inside. In your own life. This truth is no less urgent. Every day you wake up to chaos, emails, obligations, disappointments, and pressures you didn't ask for but cannot avoid. The outside world is relentless. You cannot bend it to your will. You cannot guarantee smooth waters. And if you keep trying to control what doesn't belong to you, you'll exhaust yourself. But there is one fortress no one can breach without your permission: your mind. That fortress is either your strongest ally or your greatest enemy. If it is disciplined, you are untouchable. If it is chaotic, you are already defeated. Think about it: how many people collapse, not because of events themselves, but because of their reaction to them. A negative comment online ruins their whole week. A financial setback convinces them they are failures forever. A betrayal from a friend leaves them bitter for years. The event itself was real, but the suffering is multiplied by the lack of discipline inside. Marcus Aurelius knew this centuries ago. You build your life action by action, and if each one is aligned with principle rather than impulse, you are strong. But if fear, anger, or self-pity command your choices, then no achievement, no wealth, no applause can save you. You remain a slave to yourself. Today, this inner war is sharper than ever. Social media amplifies every voice of criticism. News cycles amplify every fear. We live in a constant flood of noise, and many people let that noise dictate their emotions minute by minute. They surrender the gates of their mind to strangers, headlines, and trends. But the Stoic refuses this surrender. They train themselves daily to remember: the world outside may rage, but it is powerless unless I invite it in. I decide what enters. I decide how to respond. That is sovereignty. That is strength. Picture a lighthouse standing in violent waters. The storms crash against it. Waves roar, and ships drift in chaos, but the lighthouse does not move. It shines steadily because its foundation is solid. That is the Stoic mind. Chaos surrounds it, but it remains a beacon. And you can build the same. Every time you resist the urge to lash out in anger, every time you refuse to be consumed by fear, every time you choose discipline over impulse, you strengthen the walls of that inner fortress. Slowly, storm by storm, you become unshakable. But here's the paradox: controlling the inner battlefield requires humility. It requires admitting that the problem is not always out there. It's in here. It's easy to blame the world, but harder to admit that your reactions are your responsibility. Yet that admission is where freedom begins. Because once you accept it, no external force can truly enslave you again. You will lose people, opportunities, wealth, and status, but you will never lose yourself. That is the promise of Stoicism. And the truth is, this isn't optional. It's survival. If you don't master your inner world, the outer world will master you. If your mind remains reactive, every betrayal will poison you, every loss will crush you, every storm will drown you. But if your mind is trained, if your fortress holds, then no matter what comes, you remain steady. The storms may rage, but you will endure. That is how you conquer life, not by silencing storms, but by refusing to let storms silence you. And if you're wondering how this looks in the real day-to-day, it isn't heroic or loud, it's quiet repetition. You wake and meet the first anxious thought with a slow breath until the body remembers calm. You catch the reflex to check your phone and instead return to the one task you chose for this hour. You feel anger rising in a meeting and name it without obeying it. letting the flame die for lack of air. You finish the day by writing one honest line about where you held the line and where you slipped. Not to punish yourself, but to train tomorrow's response. This is how the fortress is built, not in one grand gesture, but brick by brick, breath by breath. Comfort is the silent killer. Seneca lived surrounded by riches, estates, and influence. He could have spent his life drowning in silk sheets, fine wine, and endless praise. But instead, he warned more urgently than anyone about the hidden danger of comfort. He understood that comfort, while pleasant, quietly erodes your resilience. It makes you fragile in ways you don't notice until it's too late. And when hardship finally strikes, as it always will, fragility shatters. The Stoic knew that comfort isn't just harmless pleasure. It is poison if you depend on it. Look at the world around us today. Almost everything is designed for ease. Food shows up at your door with one tap. Entertainment streams endlessly, demanding nothing from you. Social media feeds drip constant distraction, so you never have to sit in silence. At first glance, this looks like progress. But beneath the surface, it breeds weakness. Because when you grow accustomed to everything being easy, even small discomfort feels unbearable. Hunger, effort, rejection, or loneliness, things that once were normal parts of life, now feel like threats. People break not because the world is harsher, but because they are softer. Their imagination multiplies fear and pain because they have never tested themselves against reality. Seneca refused to live this way. He practiced discomfort on purpose. He would sleep on the floor instead of his fine bed, wear rough clothing instead of silk, eat coarse bread instead of delicacies. Not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he understood that true freedom is the ability to endure without crutches. He wanted to know, if everything I depend on were taken away tomorrow, would I still stand? That question made him strong. It reminded him daily, I do not need these things. I am stronger than my comforts. Now think about modern life. How many of us panic when the Wi-Fi goes down for a single hour? How many of us crumble at a bad comment online? How many need constant stimulation music, podcasts, scrolling because silence feels too heavy? This is fragility disguised as modern living. And the more dependent you become, the more vulnerable you are. Because the world doesn't guarantee comfort. It guarantees struggle. And if you haven't trained for it, struggle will crush you. The Stoic approach flips this on its head. Hardship is not a curse. It is the forge. Cold sharpens endurance. Hunger teaches discipline. Rejection toughens resolve. Solitude builds self-reliance. Each discomfort is a weight that, when lifted, strengthens the spirit. The one who embraces discomfort has nothing left to fear. He is free where others are enslaved. This is why Stoics sought out challenge. Not because they were masochists, but because they knew weakness was the true danger. Picture a person who always avoids discomfort. They never push themselves physically, never confront difficult conversations, never endure solitude. Their life is smooth, yes, but fragile, like glass. And when life inevitably throws a stone, illness, betrayal, loss, that glass explodes into shards. Meanwhile, the person who has trained themselves in discomfort stands firm. They don't welcome tragedy, but they aren't destroyed by it either. Their foundation is stone, not glass. So ask yourself, have your comforts made you free, or quietly made you weak? Do you own them, or do they own you? The test is simple. Remove one and see how you react. Skip the luxury. Fast for a day. Choose silence over noise. If panic sets in, you've discovered your chain. And a chain is a chain, no matter how golden. Seneca's lesson is still burning with relevance. Comfort feels good until it costs you your resilience. And once resilience is gone, nothing external can replace it. Train for discomfort, and nothing the world throws at you can break you. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Every comfort you refuse to challenge slowly becomes a cage. It starts small, needing coffee to wake up, needing music to focus, needing approval to feel good. But one by one, these needs pile up until you can't imagine living without them. And when life removes even one, you feel helpless. The Stoic refuses this slavery. They remind themselves daily, if I can live without it, I am free. If I cannot, I am owned. That's why practicing discomfort isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's choosing to suffer a little now so you won't collapse when life demands more later. True strength is not avoiding pain, but knowing you can endure it, and even grow because of it. Your excuses are your chains. Few sentences cut as sharply as this one from Epictetus. It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. At first, it sounds abstract, but think about what it really means. It means that every excuse you repeat, every reason you give for not acting, not changing, not rising isn't a shield. It's a shackle, and the longer you hold on to it, the heavier it becomes. Epictetus knew this truth in a way most of us never will. He lived as a slave, stripped of rights, status, and choice. He could have said, I am powerless because of my masters. I cannot grow because I'm chained. But he refused. Instead, he declared that no one could enslave his mind unless he consented. He turned the very condition that should have destroyed him into proof that freedom is always internal. The chains outside meant nothing because he refused to forge chains inside. Now compare that to the modern world. Excuses today wear sleek clothing. They sound logical, even harmless. I'm too tired. I wasn't given the chance. No one understands me. But beneath every excuse lies the same truth, it's a self-made chain. The more you repeat it, the more you surrender your agency. Slowly, you give away the only freedom that matters, the freedom to act. Excuses don't protect you from failure. They guarantee it don't look round. How many people live small lives, not because the world crushed them, but because they chose excuses over effort? They blame their boss, their family, their luck, their circumstances. They cling to the identity of victimhood because it's easier to wait for a rescue than to face the discomfort of change. But the Stoic refuses this poison. He may be beaten, dismissed, abandoned, misunderstood, but he will not excuse. He adapts, he endures, he builds. That is why he cannot be broken. Think of the damage excuses do over time. One day you tell yourself you're too tired to work out. Tomorrow you tell yourself you're too stressed to have that difficult conversation. The next week you convince yourself it's too late to pursue the dream you once had. Each excuse links to the next, until one day you wake up wrapped in chains so tight you cannot move. But the truth is brutal. No one else put those chains on you, you did. And that means only you can break them. This is why Stoicism is so ruthless with excuses. Because they disguise themselves as kindness. They whisper, don't push too hard, don't risk too much, protect yourself. But what they are really doing is protecting your weakness, not your strength. They keep you small, they keep you soft. And the longer you listen, the more you become a prisoner of your own words. Imagine instead the person who burns their excuses down. They stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I will. They stop blaming others and start owning their choices. Their life begins to change not because the world suddenly becomes fair, but because they stopped waiting for fairness. They decided that excuses would no longer define them. And once excuses die, chains fall away. So say this to yourself until it burns through every lie you've told. My excuses are my chains. If I want freedom, I must break them. No one else is holding me back, only I am. That truth may sting, But it's also liberating, because if the chains are yours, so is the key. You are not special. These words sound insulting in a world that constantly tells you the opposite. From childhood, you're bombarded with messages. You're unique. You're amazing just the way you are. The universe has something extraordinary planned for you. It feels good, but it's a trap. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote to himself, "Soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you." If the ruler of an empire could remind himself of his smallness, what excuse do we have to cling to our ego? He knew that believing yourself special is not strength, it is weakness, because ego blinds. And the moment you think you are above others, you stop learning, stop growing, stop seeing reality as it is. That is the beginning of decline. The Stoics never glorified uniqueness for its own sake. They honored universality. You are one among billions. You hunger like others hunger. You fear like others fear. You love. You lose. You suffer. You die. Your struggles are not cosmic punishments. They are simply human struggles, shared across centuries. Believing otherwise, that your pain is different, your challenge is uniquely unfair, creates entitlement and self-pity. It convinces you that you deserve special treatment, that the rules of life should bend for you. But life does not bend. Life does not negotiate. Life does not treat you as special. And if you build your identity on that illusion, reality will break you. Think about modern culture. Everywhere you look, you see the sedative of you're perfect just as you are. It sounds kind, but it's poison. Because if you're already perfect, why strive? Why endure? Why change? Imagine a person raised to believe they're extraordinary, shielded from criticism, praised from mediocrity. Then life strikes, they fail. They're rejected. They're ignored. What happens? They collapse. They shatter. Because their worth was built not on resilience or responsibility, but on illusions. They were told they were special, but the world did not agree. And the gap between illusion and reality destroys them. The Stoic path is the opposite. It strips away the pedestal and leaves you with something stronger: responsibility. If you are not special, then you are not cursed by pain, you are simply human, like everyone else. If you are not special, your flaws are not eternal marks, they are changeable, improvable. If you are not special, your failures are not destiny, they are lessons. The same lessons countless others have survived before you. That is freedom. To not be special is to be free to rise, to fall, to rise again without the crushing weight of imagined uniqueness. Repeat this truth to yourself: I am not special. I am responsible. That shift changes everything. It moves your focus away from what you think you deserve and back to what you must do. It kills entitlement and plants humility. And humility is not weakness, it's strength. Because humility keeps you learning, keeps you grounded, keeps you adaptable. Ego isolates you, responsibility connects you. And in that connection, you find resilience. Marcus Aurelius knew this as he sat alone, ruling an empire, yet reminding himself he was dust like everyone else. If he could accept it, so can you. So let the world chase illusions of being special. Let them build pedestals out of fragile praise. You choose differently. You choose the discipline of effort, the courage to face hardship, the clarity to accept reality as it is. That is the foundation of real strength, not empty affirmations, not fragile pride, but the sober acceptance that you are not special. And that is exactly what frees you. Because we do not dare that they are difficult. Behind those words lies a brutal truth. Most of the barriers in your life are not out there in the world, they're inside you. And if you want to grow, you must be willing to cut away the parts of yourself that keep you small. The Stoics were not sentimental about weakness. They didn't call it. They didn't negotiate with it. They killed it, not with cruelty, but with honesty. Because carrying weakness into life is like carrying dead weight into battle you're already defeated before the fight begins. Think of the habits that quietly erode your strength. Laziness that convinces you to stay comfortable when discipline is required. Addiction that numbs you instead of sharpening you. Pride that refuses to learn, making every correction feel like an insult. Self-pity that whispers you are too broken to try again. These are not harmless quirks, they are enemies, and if you keep feeding them, they will consume you. The Stoic response is clear: starve them, kill them, remove them from your life like poison. Because that's exactly what they are, poison disguised as comfort. In the modern world, weakness hides behind kindness. You hear messages like be gentle with yourself, don't push too hard, it's okay to always choose what feels good. And yes, compassion has its place. But too often, it becomes permission to indulge your worst habits. It becomes a way of protecting your weakness instead of destroying it. Imagine someone who says they want discipline but spends hours scrolling every night. Or someone who says they want peace but feeds their anxiety with endless gossip, news, and comparison. Their suffering doesn't come from fate, it comes from the weakness they refuse to kill. The Stoic does something radically different. They look in the mirror without flinching and say, this part of me is killing me. This habit is stealing my future. This mindset is keeping me small. And then they act. They cut away what no longer serves the person they want to become. It might mean ending a toxic friendship, deleting the app that consumes their hours, breaking the cycle of excuses with a single bold choice. Killing weakness is not easy, but it is always necessary. Because if you don't, weakness kills you first. Picture a warrior sharpening his sword before battle. Every dull edge could cost him his life. That's what the Stoics believed about weakness. If you tolerate it, you're walking into life with a dull blade. And life is unforgiving. It will expose every fragility you protect. But if you kill what makes you weak, if you sharpen your discipline, harden your resolve, silence your excuses, then you enter the fight ready. You may still bleed, you may still fall, but you will not collapse under your own weight. This rule is not about cruelty toward yourself. It's about honesty. It's about recognizing that comfort is not always kindness, and that indulging weakness is not compassion. Real compassion is refusing to let your lower self control your destiny. It is holding yourself to the standard of who you could be, not who you've lazily allowed yourself to become. And when you live this way, you don't just remove weakness, you replace it with strength. So say this to yourself until it becomes a command. If it weakens me, it has no place in me. That is how you rise. That is how you become unbreakable. Stop chasing peace outside yourself. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by wars, conspiracies, and betrayal, wrote words that sound less like an emperor and more like a monk. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. He commanded armies, decided the fate of nations, yet he knew the fiercest battlefield was not covered in blood and steel. It was the storm of the mind. What set him apart was this realization: conquering others means little if you have not first conquered yourself. That is the essence of Stoicism, the reminder that the greatest empire you can rule is your own spirit. And yet, most people live the opposite way. They chase peace as if it's a product they can buy, a destination they can travel to, a prize handed out by fortune. They say, I'll finally feel calm once I make enough money, once I find the right partner, once I get that promotion, once I escape this place. But peace built on conditions isn't peace. It's a lease. It belongs to chance, not to you. The Stoics knew this truth well. Anything given by the world can be taken by the world. If your calm depends on fragile things, then your calm is fragile too. Look around at the modern pursuit of peace. People flee to retreats, delete apps, move cities, change jobs, chase relationships, yet they remain restless. Why? Because they carry the storm with them. You can fly to the quietest beach on earth. But if your thoughts are chaotic, the chaos follows. You can find the perfect partner. But if your soul is unsettled, the relationship becomes another battlefield. You can achieve every career goal. But if your mind is noisy, success only magnifies the noise. The problem isn't out there, it's in here. Until you learn to silence yourself, you will always be running. The Stoic answer is both brutal and liberating. Stop searching outside. Stillness isn't stumbled upon, it's forged within. It's built by mastering your reactions, by refusing to be enslaved by impulse, by disciplining your thoughts until they serve you instead of sabotage you. That is why peace is not passive. It is active. It's the result of sovereignty over your mind. Imagine someone who trains their inner world every day. When betrayal comes, they grieve but do not collapse. When failure comes, they learn but do not drown. When fortune shifts, they adapt but do not shatter. Their peace cannot be stolen because it was never borrowed. It was built. Now compare that to the average person who says, "I'll feel better when," and spends their life chasing conditions. They treat peace like a moving target, always just beyond reach. They may touch it for a moment, during a vacation or a success, but it slips away the moment life shifts. That's not peace. That's dependency disguised as happiness. And the Stoic refuses dependency in all its forms. They carve peace out of discipline. Not luck. So here's the shield you must carry. I will not seek peace in places I cannot control. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Because once you stop chasing, you begin building. You stop looking outward and start looking inward. And the discovery waiting for you is profound. You already have what you're seeking. Peace was never out there. It was always here, in the fortress of your mind, waiting for you to take command. You are responsible for everything. Few words feel heavier than that, and yet no rule is more liberating. Epictetus didn't sugarcoat it. He said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because true responsibility looks insane to those who prefer blame. It looks radical to those who cling to excuses. But here's the Stoic truth. Until you take ownership of everything in your life, even what isn't your fault, you will never be free. This doesn't mean self-blame. It doesn't mean carrying guilt for what others have done to you. It means ownership. Radical ownership. Bad childhood, it's still your responsibility to heal. Toxic environment, it's still your responsibility to choose how to respond. Betrayal, failure, misfortune, fair or unfair, doesn't matter. Fairness is irrelevant. What matters is this: power lies in action, not complaint. The world will not fix you. No one else should. Because the person who rebuilds you becomes unbreakable. Imagine someone who refuses to play the victim. Their parents failed them. Their partner betrayed them. Their job disappointed them. And still they rise. Not because it was easy, but because they decided, this is mine to face. That decision transforms pain into power. It silences excuses. It kills self-pity. And it creates a kind of strength that nothing external can destroy. That's the brutal rule most people spend their lives avoiding. But those who accept it change everything. Contrast this with the culture around us. We live in an age that encourages blame. If you're unhappy, point to your upbringing, point to the system, point to your boss, point to your partner. And yes, injustice exists. Yes, life is unfair. The Stoics never denied that. But they also refuse to surrender power to it. Because the moment you decide, I cannot move forward until others change, you have chained yourself to a future that may never come. You've given your freedom away. Radical responsibility is about taking it back. Think about it this way. If your life is in someone else's hands, you are helpless. But if your life is in your hands, even if it's unfair, even if it's hard, you still have power. You still have choice, and choice is everything. Choice is what makes a man free even in chains. What makes a leader calm in crisis? What makes you capable of rebuilding even after losing everything? That's why Epictetus, born into slavery, could say with conviction, I can, because I govern my own will. So how do you live this? You stop asking, whose fault is this? And start asking, what can I do now? You stop waiting for apologies that may never come, and instead decide how you will move forward. You stop feeding the narrative of being broken, and instead begin the process of rebuilding brick by brick, choice by choice. Radical responsibility doesn't erase pain, but it gives you a way through it. It doesn't make life fair, but it makes you stronger than unfairness. Say this out loud, even if it feels uncomfortable. I am responsible for everything, not because I caused it, but because only I can respond to it. That is my power. That is my freedom. And once you accept it, the world cannot break you. It can wound you, betray you, strip you of possessions and people, but it cannot enslave you because you no longer depend on anyone else to carry your burden. You have chosen to carry it yourself, and in carry it, you become unstoppable. You've made it this far. That alone says something powerful about you, because most people click away the moment the truth gets uncomfortable. Most people turn the volume down when the message demands reflection. But not you. You're still here. You've walked through the fire of 8 brutal Stoic rules, and if you've stayed, it's because some part of you is ready not just to listen, but to live differently. So let's pause and remind ourselves what we've learned. Rule 8 shattered the illusion that someone will rescue you. No one is coming to save you. Rule 7 pulled back the curtain to show you that the real war is always internal control, the inner battlefield, or be destroyed by it. Rule 6 exposed the soft poison of modern life. Comfort is the silent killer, and you must train for discomfort or be broken by it. Rule 5 took away every excuse you've ever made and revealed them for what they are, chains you forged yourself. Rule 4 stripped away your ego with the most liberating truth. You are not special, and that's exactly what frees you to rise. Rule 3 demanded that you kill what makes you weak, because weakness will kill you first if you refuse. Rule 2 revealed that peace will never be found outside, only built inside. And Rule 1 handed you the most brutal, most powerful weapon of all: radical responsibility for everything in your life. 8 rules, 8 truths, 1 purpose. Fix your mind. Fix your life. They are not gentle. They do not soothe, but they rebuild you from the inside out. Because that's what Stoicism has always been. Not a philosophy to make you feel good, but a practice to make you unbreakable. Now comes your challenge. This week, don't try to live all 8 at once. Don't overwhelm yourself. Choose just one. Maybe it's rejecting excuses. Maybe it's embracing discomfort. Maybe it's owning your inner chaos instead of blaming the world. Whatever rule cuts you deepest is probably the one you need most. So pick it and commit to it for the next 7 days. No shortcuts, no justifications, live it. And don't keep it to yourself, declare it. Share it in the comments. This week I live by rule number X. Make it real. Make it public. Because once you say it out loud, you've already taken the first step toward becoming unbreakable. And here's something else. If you've made it here, you've already proven that you're not like the majority who turn away from hard truths. You've chosen strength over comfort, responsibility over excuses, discipline over weakness. That's rare, and rare is powerful. But don't let this stop at inspiration. Let it become transformation. Carry these rules with you tomorrow, next week, next year. Let them guide you when life is heavy, when storms rise, when no one is clapping. Because it's in those moments that Stoicism shows its real power. So here's the final action. If you're ready to stop waiting, stop blaming, and start building, write these words below. I choose strength. That phrase is not just a comment, it's a contract. A contract with yourself. It means no more waiting for rescue, no more clinging to comfort, no more drowning in excuses. It means becoming the kind of person the world cannot break. And if you want more than just one video, if you want to continue walking this path of discipline, clarity, and resilience, then join us. Subscribe, stay connected, and step deeper into this practice. Because here, at StoicCraft, we don't just talk about philosophy, we live it. And every week, we sharpen the mind so we can live freer, stronger, and calmer in a world addicted to chaos. The decision is yours now. Rise or remain. But if you've made it here, I think you've already chosen.